My grandparents were born in slavery or children of those who had been enslaved, and their families were nothing like our families. My maternal grandparents settled in Surrey County, Virginia. My mother's father was from Henderson, North Carolina. He was kept on the plantation until he was 20 and then turned loose to go get an elementary school education at the age of 20. He showed the white man who impregnated his black mother, however, what a miracle God can work out of the messes that man can make. He not only got his elementary school education at 20, he finished high school and then college and then seminary in the late 1800s and early 1900s. No Pell Grants, no student loans, no federal subsidies, just hard work and burning the midnight oil. Don't ask me why I have no patience with these 21st century prosperity jacklegs who ain't been nowhere near a seminary and are driving Bentleys and flying Lear jets and lying to God's people while taking the lying president's money. My grandfather started school at 20 in the 19th century, elementary school, and did not stop until he finished graduate school. That's why my patience is short. Now, my daddy's father, on the other hand, only had a third grade education. But he didn't try to pretend that he was no preacher either, like these great pretenders today. He had good sense, he had common sense, he was a man of dignity, honesty, and integrity. And I respected him just like I respected my mother's father, because they stood up as black men and were proud of who they were without pretending to be somebody that they were not. But their families, though different in terms of academic training, their families were the same, cut from the same cloth. My mother's father married my grandmother, who taught me how to read before I started kindergarten, and they raised all of their children to go as far as they could academically. None of their 5 children who lived had less than 2 degrees. Grandpa Jim, on the other hand, my granddaddy on my daddy's side, with his 3rd grade education, had to work on his tobacco farm. So when his son Jeremiah showed some academic promise, he took him from Fredericksburg, or Ladysmith, Virginia, to be honest, down to Richmond, Virginia, to send him off to college, gave him all the money he had, 1 quarter, 25 cents, and said, go get an education so you don't end up on the farm like I did. My daddy is the only one on that side of the family with a college education, but I used to tease him because he had more letters behind his name than he had within his name. He had a BTH, a BA, a MDiv, a STM, and a DD, a Bachelor of Theology, a Bachelor of Arts, Master of Divinity, Master of Sacred Theology, 11 earned letters, and 2 honorary letters. He took his daddy's word seriously, and he went and got his education. But both sides of the family taught me what I have been trying to teach our church family for 33 years. The letters behind your name don't make you. Those letters are how you make a living. And the letters behind your name ain't got nothing to do with your biological family or your theological family. The church, the letters behind your name are how you make a living. The church is how you make a life. Family is who you are. Them letters ain't got nothing to do with what you do. What you do ain't who you are. I've often shared with our members what that looks like in real life on the histogram. My grandpa Jim, I love it because my grandpa Jim, with his 3rd grade education, we'd be somewhere together and the family be all gathered. 3rd grade education, tobacco farmer. Here come Dr. Jeremiah Wright Jr., 4 earned degrees, 1 from the University of Chicago. And when Dr. Wright came, sat down, and Grandpa Jim, with his 3rd grade tobacco farmer education, said, boy, I said, yes, sir. Because them letters didn't mean nothing in the family, and they don't mean nothing here. Grandpa Jim's family and Grandpa Henderson's family were modeled, however, after and structured like the other African-American families in the early 20th century. They did crazy stuff. Like they ate together 3 times a day. Crazy. Family life in this present age is nothing like family life was in my parents' age or my grandparents' age. They actually sat down at the table together, had prayer together, ate together. Listen, strange word. and talked together with no TV and no radio during mealtime. Crazy stuff. Look, they all went to church together. Crazy stuff. Every Sunday, from Sunday school in the morning to evening service at night. Wasn't no option. Crazy stuff. They made us learn Bible verses. And like Clyburn said, Jesus wept didn't count. Now, you had to come up with a different verse, and they entrusted the child-rearing responsibilities to every adult in the church. Crazy stuff. Nobody had their own television, Nobody had their own telephone in the same house. No such thing as a cell phone. I told the early morning congregation, this was way back in BC time. Say BC. BC, that's before cable. Say BC. BC, that's before computers. Say BC. BC, that's before cell phone. Nobody took a plate and went to another part of the house to eat. And there were no fast food meals in our home. McDonald's didn't even come on the scene till I was grown, married, and in the service. Family life in this present age. There's nothing like family life when I was growing up. Nothing like family life in my parents' age, and absolutely nothing like family life in my grandparents' age. And we have been looking for the last 20 years, even as the times have changed. We have been looking in over 160 sermons now, each family month, at what God has to say to our families as we live in this present age. Because where times have changed, God's truth has not changed. And we've been looking and listening to see and to hear, is there any word from the Lord? On the first Sunday of Family Month, visitors, we have customarily been looking at marriage as one aspect of family life. And today, this day, June 5th, we have looked sermonically at God's design for marriage in the first service. And in the second service, we looked at some societal modifications on God's design and the problems that are caused when society goes in a direction that is contrary to the source. We looked in the first service at God's design, and we looked in the second service at when brothers just don't get it. Sisters, y'all need to run back there and get that tape today. When brothers just don't get it. And sisters, don't rest easy. Because we're coming back to talk with you later on this month. Tonight, in the third service for today, I want you to look with me, however, at a marriage that honors God. God's design, when brothers just don't get it, and a marriage that honors God. Rhema and I both were blessed to be in the 30% of black families where both parents at the latter part of the 20th century were in the home. The painful statistics show that unlike the African American families in our parents' age, end of the 19th century, early 20th century, where the majority of marriages held together, in our time, 70% of African American children are being raised in single-parent families. That means only 30% of our black children are raised in a home where both parents are present. I call us the thankful 30. I'm thankful to have had both my mother and my father in my home. I am thankful to have had both my mama and my daddy participating in the child rearing process. I am thankful to have had a father who was compassionate and merciful to balance out a mama who seemed crazy and had murder on her mind when it came to whipping.